Awesome. Thank you so much. Just testing to see if we have Ilivani online from Lautoka, Fiji. Did the connection work? Ah, here she is, Ilivani. Welcome. Bula, lovely to have you.
Bula everyone, Bula everyone. It's been an honor and a privilege to be part of this meeting today. Thank you all for having me today.
So Ilivani, tell us about your experience as a solar engineer on the ground in Fiji.
Thank you, Amanda. My experience as a solar mama in Lautoka is a networking with stakeholders in raising awareness and engaging with key actors in communities and relevant women groups who are the main beneficiaries of solar-powered projects and other livelihood that is directly and indirectly to solar projects. Furthermore, such income-generating projects such as beekeeping and producing virgin coconut oil, which is currently the project that I am engaging in as a source of livelihood for my household. Solar power is so important in my community because it does not require monetary obligations like paying bills, and the most important thing is that it is free energy source. In my view and the experience of solar project elevated the socio-economic viability of the woman in their capacity with the household. This contributes to the ripple effect of raising their livelihood and ease of household everyday activities. From a business perspective, solar-powered battery provide longevity and continuity in networking and marketing, which is the hallmark of business operation as a whole.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. And I'm going to be asking everybody at the end to leave the audience with the one thing that they would like everyone who's attending to do as a practical takeaway. So please be thinking about that. And I'm now delighted to transition to Brynn Foster from Hawaii, who uses solar technology to transform canoe plants like ulu and taro into flowers for her Voyaging foods business. And I know, Brynn, that you're working on models to share that solar facility with the local community through partnerships and through your role as the president of the Hawaii Farmers Union North Shore chapter. Great to see a woman in that role. And I know too that you're both Native Hawaiian, and also your mother's family traces ancestry to the Powhatan people on the mainland. So I know how strongly you feel about Indigenous island wisdom for both sustainable futures and healthy lifestyles. I know too that your business has some fascinating origins. So please tell us more about those.
Thank you so much. Aloha, everybody. Thank you, Amanda, for that kind introduction. And I am very excited about Solar Mamas. I really hope we can connect after because we need some Solar Mamas in Hawaii as well. So I'm excited to learn from you. My name is Brynn Foster, and as a first-generation farm enthusiast, I have been working to understand the barriers to entry in both the farming and the value-added manufacturing industry in Hawaii. So I decided to co-develop a prototype solar dryer that would be open source for our farmers in Hawaii. A lot of solar dryers, there's a lot of them, but they seem to have either patents on production, and we really wanted this to be owned by our own people, to not have to have any more royalties or patents or any of these sort of things. So this dryer would utilize clean energy for an off-the-grid initial stage drying system for value-added products in Hawaii. And it would provide an opportunity for our local farmers, processors, and community organizations to build capacity and develop products in response to unmet market demand, which is in our canoe plant flour. So being aware of the need and the challenges in food security and access is really how I got started on this journey, is to focus on a value-added industry, making flour from our Hawaiian canoe plants, such as ulu, breadfruit, kalo, which is taro, and uala, sweet potato, since the flour extends the harvest from our farmers, and it also, we often use grade B or C or even food that would be wasted. And so this really spoke to me. But how I started Voyaging Foods was really based on a need to find a better for you gluten-free teething biscuit. There really wasn't anything out there in 2005 when I started without refined sugars. It was all imported wheat. In Hawaii, we import over 90% of our food, and I wanted to be part of the solution. So I decided to make my own teething biscuit, and I started with making taro powder from sour poi that was, a lot of people, I guess younger people, didn't really like the taste of sour poi. So it was being discarded. So I really wanted to save that. And so I decided to make flour from that poi and make a cookie from it. So I dried the poi in my oven and I made a flour for cookies and teething biscuits. And then I caught my mom eating all the offcasts. So I thought I should really make a cookie for everybody and not just for babies. And now I understand that I was really being divinely led by my ancestors to find a way back to our cultural foods through that teething biscuit. And I was led on a journey that keeps unfolding to this day. I went from learning about the history of kalo to planting it into my home, and now understanding that biodiversity in plants such as kalo is a form of climate mitigation. And so part of starting this company was I really wanted to make sure that we only sourced Hawaiian varieties of taro for our products and to highlight that. And our vision is a food sovereign Hawaii and Polynesia, where all 80 to 100 varieties of kalo are represented in specialized regions, are grown in homes, and are served in daily meals. So I love kalo because it was like a light went on for me when I started eating and planting it. I really realized that the interconnection between land and people became so much more clear. And I'm also interested in other indigenous people's creation stories, and that their sacred seeds are ones that we all need to protect, and to understand that haloa and kalo is part of our native Hawaiian creation story is really extra special to me. So I thank you for having me, and I look forward to collaborating with all of you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I think that is such a great model for all islands. And I can tell everybody firsthand that your products are absolutely delicious. So it's now my great honor to introduce another fellow Kiwi, Brianne West, who is the CEO and founder of Ethique, which means ethical in French. And Brianne literally started her business to address the problem of plastic waste. She has this incredible statistic of something like 100 million plastic bottles being thrown away from just shampoo and conditioner bottles, and was determined that she was going to do something about it. So Brianne, tell us all about how you created Ethique and how you've gone from making these bars for soap and conditioner to a full-scale zero-waste cosmetics business with a $13 million turnover in such a short time.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I'm very excited to join you all, and the stories you guys have been telling are pretty incredible. The statistic you're referencing is a bit worse than you stated, Amanda. It's 80 billion plastic bottles are used every year globally, and 9% are recycled on average. So the plastic you've ever used really is still among us in some way, form, or shape. So this is something I knew a few years ago, and I desperately wanted to create a company that not only had a positive environmental impact, but also operated in a way that I believe companies should, which is that everyone who is impacted in some way by the company is brought along and succeeds alongside it. So when I say Ethique rids the world of plastic bottles, it's because we produce bars instead of bottles. And that's not to say it's just soap. It's literally like exactly what you'd get in a bottle, but just with the water removed. Because what sense does it make to fill a product with 90 to 95% water, package it in plastic, and then ship that product, which is heavy because of all that water, around the world, and then use it in a room full of water? That is completely illogical. And that was simply the basis behind Ethique. And like Amanda says, we've now grown pretty rapidly. We export to 16 countries out of New Zealand still, and it's been a pretty incredible ride full of numerous challenges. But the exciting bit is the values haven't changed. So it began as a way to rid the world of plastic bottles, and looking back, it was a little bit naive, but I think the best ideas probably are slightly naive ones. But it's the way of operating. So one of my wonderful friends who I haven't actually spoken to in a while, Andy, is on next. And her team supply our coconut oil from Samoa, from her women's cooperative, Women in Business Development, which I won't tell you anything about because I don't want to steal any of her thunder at all. But we work with our direct trade partners as much as possible. So we try and work with women's cooperatives around the world. For example, we get moringa oil from Rwanda. It's those types of relationships that I really think the cosmetics industry really needs to tidy up. It's not just the product, it's how we source that product. It's who we are at the end of the day, who we are empowering by what we produce. And unfortunately, the cosmetics industry is pretty hideous in terms of supply chain and waste. And cocoa butter would be a good example. If you know anything about the cocoa butter supply chain, it's full of child labor, child trafficking. It is just, it's pretty awful. So we also make sure we work directly with fair trade producers there, a women's cooperative. And we've just since switched to a new one in Ghana. So it's a really nice way to ensure that not only the product we produce is zero waste and genuinely makes an impact, and we have thus far saved 8 million plastic bottles from being made and disposed of, which is great, but the goal is 50 million by 2025, but also that everything we do throughout our entire business is as ethical as possible. We bring everyone along. We've got 352 shareholders who invested in us at the very, very beginning as we did equity crowdfunding to fund the company. We didn't go the VC, the typical route. And, you know, we get to bring them along with us in our success and hopefully change a whole lot of people's lives and change the way people look at business as instead of this big ball of evil, as so many people think it is something that is a phenomenal cause of change. And I believe business is the biggest driver of positive change, quicker than a lot of other routes, certainly government, in my opinion.
Could not agree more. Business is the biggest driver for positive change. Wonderful. And love the connection that happened between you and Andy, which is so exciting. And I can see there's all sorts of incredible connections that are going to come out of today's event as well. So, Andy, we are thrilled to be able to welcome you today. You were a social entrepreneur way back before the term was fashionable. And I was thrilled to be able to work with you when I ran the New Zealand Development Agency. And then so thrilled to discover that you and Brianne were working together. Now, you also pulled off the miracle of, I think, the largest single global contract for virgin coconut oil to the Body Shop, with your network of women and youth entrepreneurs across many islands. So tell us a little bit about the origins of WIBD and then the way in which you've been able to develop sustainable business in Samoa.
Thank you so much, Amanda. It's so good to see you. Missed you on our outside of the Pacific, but we're thrilled that you haven't forgotten us and that you continue to support and champion our work. Take us out of our comfort zone. You do that very well. And I'm just thrilled to be here. Thank you so much, everyone. Be here with Brianne. Her organization is just amazing. And if I can say congratulations, I won't say what for, to Brianne and Bree. And gosh, I'm excited. I want to try Bree's biscuits. But yes, the Body Shop really took our small NGO out of our comfort zone. And I'm pleased to say that over 13 years later, small farming families are organically certified to international standards and still sole suppliers of organically certified virgin coconut oil to the Body Shop, to the Community Fair Trade Program, because as you know, the Body Shop has been sold and resold a few times. They've still kept the Community Fair Trade Program. And even more excited that we're suppliers to Ethique. And we love working with Brianne. We love telling everyone about her product. And she's even come here and visited us, which is just amazing. And we want to do more with her. We work with other Pacific Island countries. We share our learning. We think that's really, really important. And because we believe that small island countries need to work together, we all grow the same things, but when we're smaller, we grow these things in small quantities, and we should be sharing our markets. That's a big dream. Our rural isolated communities need to be part of the cash economy on their own steam, and they need to get support to bring their products to the marketplace. You know, we are agriculture-based, our economies, most of our island countries, if not all. And we have many exciting plants that grow in our countries, which we've used for generations for foods and for medicine. And these plants are now what we use to earn an income. And we know that now we live in a cash economy, but we're so far away from markets. And we can't live forever on remittances to drive our small rural economies. So for us at Women in Business, we've worked over 2 decades to drive these economies and make, have them driven by the people themselves from their villages. We take them to the markets. We create opportunities along the value chain so that they're involved as much as possible in this value chain, and they're not just earning at the farm gate, which is a lot smaller than what they earn if we take them along. If we together can produce low volume, high value products and export them to international markets together, I think it would really, really help us. And there's just so many exciting things that I've actually heard on this, on our conference. And we're so blessed to have markets like the Body Shop, like Ethique, and we have another amazing company in Brianne's city, Christchurch, C1 Espresso. They believe in sustainable sourcing and social responsibility, and we really should be working together. And now with COVID-19, we don't really understand what's happening. The other thing we rely on in our small countries is tourism. And those markets are lost. So, we should be looking more at virtual markets and things like that. So thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. And thank you so much, Amanda. So good to see you.
Oh, thank you, Andy. It's wonderful to see you too. And we have some questions coming in, so I'm going to throw these out. Kyle Dahalig is asking, is the key to business practices boosting many small businesses or forcing already big companies to change their ways? So please, panelists, just raise your hand and unmute yourself and provide your response.
Could you just repeat the question, please, Amanda?
The question is the key to ethical business practices boosting many small businesses, like the ones we've heard about today, or forcing already big companies, and I guess Unilever is a good example, and the companies that have signed up to the science-based targets initiatives, for example, to reduce their carbon footprint, to helping big companies change their ways. So any of you who would like to comment on that question, is it an either or?
I think it's both. So I think a combination of both are necessary. So small businesses typically force larger ones because they take their market share, because consumers are rapidly becoming more educated. They want better products. They want to know where they come from. They want to know who was harmed by producing that product. They want to know what happens to the environment when that product is produced. So small businesses can answer those easier because it is easier to build a business with sustainability at its core than it is to change a huge corporate. And I understand that. But then those businesses, those larger businesses realize, oh, we can't keep doing what we're doing because we're losing market share, and that is happening right now. So these small businesses are being snapped up and acquired by these big companies, and unfortunately they may or not lose some of those values. But I believe the way you change is by creating new businesses and forcing those bigger ones to change, because they're not going to change just because they feel that's the right thing to do. Well, that'll be a slower way to change if that does happen. Like a combination of
Brianne,
both.
I know that it's a B Corp, and I'm going to then move to Megan and then to Andy. Tell us a little bit about what it takes to be a B Corp and how that differentiates you from a solely for-profit company.
B Corp is, you don't have to, social enterprise, I guess it's a complicated term. It shouldn't be really. It's simply a business that is out for more than profit, and I guess that's what a B Corp is. So the B Corp certification assesses your whole company, whether it's how you treat your customers, to who owns you, to who's on your board, to what your product does, again, to the environment. It assesses everything. It's an overwhelming document when you first look at it, but it gives you this really beautiful score as to how you're doing against best practice. It's something I really recommend every business does, even if you don't want to become a B Corp for whatever reason, or if you can't because you're not quite there yet. It's a really great way to assess yourself against that. I highly recommend that look into it and support B Corps, because it is harder to be an ethical business. It is more expensive, and you do get, it is a lot harder, and a lot of investors still don't understand why you'd want to do these things. So it is harder, and we should definitely support ethical businesses.
Thank you, Brianne. Now over to Megan.
Yeah, I'd love to pick up on that, because I think it's actually quite a fundamental issue right now. I think our whole lens through which we see economic models and businesses, and the way we define those, is at a point of no return. And I think the future that we are looking at coming out of this COVID period is one in which it will just no longer be acceptable to do business as usual. Whether you're a small business or a larger business, the principles of building value into your supply chain from bottom to top and empowering people all the way through that has now got to be part of every business model. And yes, that will mean some sacrifices, but you have some real leaders coming out right now. IKEA, for instance, in India, is no longer buying from any middlemen. They're only buying from user-producer groups themselves. And I think this move by corporates to be able to really deal directly with smaller groups of entrepreneurs at grassroots level is a very healthy sign, and one that will be replicated by others eventually. And that's sort of where those two things converge.
Fantastic. And I think it's interesting too to see the Davos Declaration in January this year, and then the Business Roundtable 200 last year, all saying that they were shifting from shareholder, which in the US has been an obsession with making money and profit at any cost, to stakeholder, which is a really big shift if we can make it fast enough, given that we know that COVID-19 is only a fire drill for climate change. Yep. Andy, over to you for the final word. Thank you so much, Megan.
Thank you, Amanda. Just thinking again, we can't do without ethical business. And the problem with corporates is that, again, we live on small island countries. And we're now in Samoa and Tonga, and I'm sure a few other countries, actually have, competing. We've got corporates coming in here and competing for our products. And the sad thing is that they have all the resources, so they can just take over what we've spent years to put together. And being ethical, it's just, I guess, everybody needs to be a B Corp company and, be able to do the right thing. Thank you.
And that is a wonderful note on which to wrap up, and then ask each of you to leave the audience with the one thing you would like everybody to do as a takeaway today. And I'm going to go in the order in which you spoke. So we will begin with Maria and end with Andy. So Maria, the one thing that you would like everyone to do.
So I think, kind of going back to what you were mentioning, how Fortune 500 companies, banks are male dominated. I really benefited from having positive female role models to kind of give me that confidence. And I think that access to mentors, to subject matter experts is so important to empower women who are looking to get in business and get a leg up. And so my takeaway to everyone is, if you are in a position to be a mentor, be one. Make time in your life for that. And then if you need a mentor, if you're stuck and you need some inspiration, reach out to someone who you admire and connect with them and absorb whatever knowledge that you can from them. And we're really just here to help each other. So that would be my takeaway, is be a mentor or get a mentor.
Wonderful. And my takeaway for you would be, have a little look at the Financial Alliance for Women, because I think it might be an interesting organization for Bank of Guam to join and contribute to.
Yes, I've been looking at that. Thank you.
Amy.
Hi, Amanda. So there's a wonderful question in the chat that's related to my leave behind, which is he was asking about helping local farmers to become USDA approved because the federal government hinders livestock farmers. And here in Idaho, we're the same way. You have this live transport to some big USDA certified processing facility. And so it really doesn't support the local food economy. And so my leave behind is, and we're working, by the way, on a regional meat processing facility. So I'm happy to share more with Gerald, who asked the question about that. But I think what we're eating, but also, so ask everyone to think about not just what we're eating, but how and where it was grown and created for us, and who did that. And I feel like we eat at least 3 times a day, and it's the number one thing I think we can do in changing our world and for our environment, for the people who are growing our food, who now are in so much danger due to the pandemic. So that's my leave behind.
Thank you. Buy and eat local. And Megan's still away in Switzerland, I hope.
Sure. 2 takeaways I will leave you with, Amanda, and all the other wonderful women who we've had a chance to meet this morning. The first one is, I think we're living in a moment where everything we do or touch has to feel regenerative. Every way we look at our business, we think about decisions day to day. Are we building something better? Are we making something that will grow? Are we putting value in instead of taking value out? And then my second one is give away power. Every chance you get, because that's how we spread power, is to give it away. And so the more women who can become empowered through us and by us and with us, the better off we will all be.
Wonderful. And giving away power is a beautiful segue to our solar engineer. Ilivani, can you still hear us? Is the connection okay? If you can, we would love to see your beautiful face again and hear from you. Great. You might be muted.
For me, the most important thing is to reach out to other communities who really need solar lighting system right now. And therefore, to summarize, such technology empowers the woman in sustainable livelihood with minimum operating cost, and at the same token, utilize the abundant available energy provided by the sun. Vinaka, Amanda.
Vinaka, wonderful. Yes, help other communities with solar livelihoods. Fantastic. Brynn, on to you. Closing words.
I would like to leave the audience to commit to be curious and open to your place-based food where you are in your area, and to incorporate these into your meals. Indigenous seeds and plants support local tribes, they support local groups and businesses, and they mitigate climate change. So I'm just going to leave some of my favorite indigenous seed, sacred seed savers on my Facebook page and my Instagram page. So just sharing friends' pages.
Lovely, thank you so much. And everybody buy Voyaging Foods products. They are totally delicious. Brianne, whose products I use exclusively since I discovered them. And it's so wonderful to know that they are I can plant the boxes. No waste.
I think echoing what everyone has so far said, but absolutely think about what it is you buy. Ideally, if you can give up single-use plastic, fabulous, but it extends beyond that. So if you are in a position to think about what it is you buy, and do you really need it? Do you really need to buy it? Because 45% of our global climate change emissions come from stuff. Imagine if we get half that, because 50% of the things that we buy online are in the bin within 32 days. You didn't need it, right? All I'm saying is think about what it is you're buying. Do you really need it? And of course, give up the bottle and embrace the bar.
Thank you, Brianne. Andy, final words.
I like what Brianne just said, but we live on small island countries, most of us. And there's so many amazing ideas have come out out of just this small conference that we're having. And I'd like us to reach out to each other, to share ideas. And that's the way we're going to grow and move forward and become part of our global economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Auntie. That's the perfect note on which to end, because as we transition to our virtual reception, there are another couple of amazing women sustainability leaders to share some solutions that we think will work really well in islands, Solar Spell and Pono Homes. And I think what we've all recognized through this incredible exchange, and thank you, my heart is full, everybody, is just how much we are nourished by the example of other amazing women sustainability leaders. And I want to personally give out a shout out to a role model of mine, Julie Wrigley, who is a global influencer, change maker, aggregator, whom I met by chance and really changed my life trajectory, and is why I'm here in Hawaii now. Julie founded the Wrigley Global Institute of Sustainability at ASU back in 2003. It was the first in the world, and she did as Megan did and gave away power, has helped over 400 other institutes since. And now we realize that sustainability is not sufficient, and that word regenerative and regenerative futures based on island and indigenous wisdom kept coming. So next week, we're thrilled that Michael Crow, who is the president at ASU and a great supporter of regenerative and female-led solutions, is going to be speaking at the closing session of this incredible series that Austin and his team have put on. So I want to thank all of you wonderful women leaders and sustainability solutionaries who joined us today, the amazing participants who have been so active in the chat box, to Dr. Austin Shelton and his amazing team as real role models of inclusive and participatory leadership. And to say a big mahalo nui loa, thank you so much, everybody. And we very much look to hoping for those who can stay on, continuing on in the virtual reception. Thank you, Governor, and thank you so much, Vice Provost, also for your Provost and Vice President, for your wisdom as well.
If you didn't have a role model before today, I'm sure you have at least several now. And while we're doing shout outs, let's use the chat to give shout outs to our favorite women-owned businesses, big and small. Support local and support women businesses.